It's that time again. I'm headed out to the San Fernando Valley to talk about some of my memories and hopefully spark some of yours. Now, before we get started, I want to take a second to thank my newest Patreon supporters: Natasha Westenberger, Danny Garcia, Mr. Unicorns and Rainbows, and the Hanson family. Thank you all so much for the support. I really appreciate it. If you want to support me on Patreon, visit patreon.com/80slife. Now let's go see what we can find. So a while back I made a video on the filming locations for the movie Valley Girl, and of course I showed you where Julie Richmond's house was, and I showed you that a tree had fallen on the house, and for the last few years the house had just been sitting there damaged and I think vacant, and I wasn't really sure if they were going to repair the house or tear it down. So recently a viewer left me a comment asking me what the update was on Julie's house, if it had been torn down or not, and good question. I don't know. I haven't been there since I made that video, so we're going to stop by right now and see what's going on with the house. Well, I'm here, and now I kind of wish that I didn't come by to check the status of Julie's house. It looks like they went ahead and ended up tearing down the entire thing and building a new house. This really bums me out. I was hoping they were just going to repair that section. But it does kind of look like they kept the original chimney. Not sure why, but another Valley Girl location gone forever. Well, right behind me is the Psychic Eye bookstore, and if you don't know what that is, well, it's basically that. It's a psychic bookstore. So when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I had these two neighbors that were brothers, Matt and Russell. And Matt and Russell loved heavy metal. They had their shaggy blonde hair, and they would wear a different heavy metal shirt for every day of the week. Now, Matt and Russell and all their friends also loved playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought that was so cool. Back then, I thought that's what the cool kids did. So I was really excited when they offered to teach me how to play. But when Russell came over to my apartment with all of his Dungeons and Dragons stuff, my dad kind of flipped out and said he didn't want any satanic stuff in his house, which is kind of weird because my dad definitely wasn't a religious person. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is Matt and Russell and all their friends, they also loved the Psychic Eye. They would come here after school and hang out for hours, and then I would hear them talking about the crystals and the wizard statues and all the other stuff that they had here. So even though the Psychic Eye has been here since 1985 and I've never been inside that building, I still feel a connection to it, and every time I drive by, I look at it and I think about Dungeons and Dragons and Matt and Russell. If you guys are watching this, get in touch with me. I want to know what's going on in your life. Right up here on the second floor is Ultrazone Laser Tag, and I'm not really sure how long it's been here, but what I do know is sometime around 1991 or 1992, I came here with my friend Big Mike. His dad dropped us off and we stayed here for probably a couple hours playing laser tag. So this place has been here for quite a long time. And then right over here used to be Tower Records. And right across the street over there, that Panda Express, probably sometime later in the 90s, I used to go to this Panda Express probably almost every week with my friends. And then we would come over here and there's an outdoor eating area where we would sit and just hang out and eat our Panda Express. And directly across the street from Panda Express, where Candyland Indoor Playground now is, this used to be Second Spin Records. And, you know, it wasn't a great record store, but it was still good just to have small record stores around that you could go in and browse. Every once in a while I would find cool stuff here. Right there on the corner is Sharky's Mexican Grill, but my entire life that was Twain's Restaurant. I'm gonna be honest, I actually never ate at Twain's, but I have a few friends that just absolutely loved that place and would always suggest going there, but I don't know, for some reason I never ended up there. So if you grew up in the Valley, you might remember right here on the corner of Reseda Boulevard and Oxnard Street, there were two Dueling lumber yards. Terry Lumber on the east side of the street and Tarzana Lumber on the west side of the street. So what made these two lumber yards so memorable is they both had marquee signs and they would trade insults back and forth. People were completely shocked and entertained to read the insults, which changed almost daily. But what people didn't realize is both lumber yards were actually owned by Terry Mullen. The two lumber yards remained here at this intersection for more than 50 years until in the early 2000s, the MTA forced them to shut down so they could build the new busway that runs right along Oxnard Street. Okay, another quick location update. In one of my early Valley videos, I showed you a small music store in Reseda called Kay's Music Scene. And I told you that when my parents bought me my very first guitar, an acoustic guitar, we brought it here to Kay's Music Scene to get it checked out. And I was really shocked and happy to see that this music store was still around all these years later. Well, I was very sad to learn that in early October, Kay's Music Scene finally closed its doors. After being open for more than 50 years, the owner finally decided to retire. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the sign was saved and taken to the Valley Relics Museum. And while I was here right now checking out Kay's Music Scene, I just remembered that somewhere over on this side of the plaza, I don't remember exactly where, I kind of feel like it was over here, but somewhere over here in the mid-80s, there was a small little food place called Chef's Takeout. Does anybody remember that place? I had completely forgot about it until right now. But I know it was a place that for a while my parents really liked to order food from, and honestly, I don't remember it being very good. So who remembers when all of this used to be the Reseda Petting Zoo? If I remember correctly, it stretched from here all the way down to right before Roscoe. I just remember always driving by this petting zoo and seeing the horses and always seeing a lot of ostriches. They would always hang out right by the fence. So if my memory serves correctly, I believe the petting zoo reached all the way down here where these new houses are. And I'm not sure if it was connected to the petting zoo, but I actually remember there being some horses right here too. And then right here, this was Alan Ed's Audio, another business that I remember being here my entire life. And I think it just shut down within the last couple of months, if I'm not mistaken. I'm on the 118 freeway heading to Sylmar, California to try and find one of my old jobs. I haven't been here in a while, so it's gonna be a bit tricky. Okay, we're on Arroyo Street, just off of Foothill. And yep, here it is, UPS. I worked right inside that building loading up those semi-truck trailers. So basically there was a conveyor belt that would come down into the trailer and dump packages in there, and I would be inside those trailers making walls, stacking up all the boxes. And then on the other side of the building is the unload area. Same thing, you're inside of a trailer, but you're pretty much tearing down the walls and bringing all the packages into the building. So yeah, I worked here for a while in the late 90s. Monday through Friday, I worked the night shift, got off around 4 in the morning. Every once in a while, I would pull a double shift where I would work all night and then all morning. And on the second shift, I worked loading up the brown delivery trucks. And then what's really crazy is every Friday night, the back part of this parking lot right here would turn into a party. All the employees would get off work, they would move their cars to the back of the parking lot back there by the hills, and they would pop their trunks and it would be full of beer and other alcohol. And like I said, we got off work at like 4 in the morning, so everyone would be out here at 4 in the morning for a few hours drinking and partying. And I don't know how UPS let that go on. It happened every Friday. Actually, it happened on other days too, but definitely every Friday. So this building right here behind me, this is the last place that I ever lived in the San Fernando Valley. Shortly after my dad passed away, my mom and I, we got an apartment here together. Actually, that apartment right there, that right there was my bedroom window. And I can honestly say that after 25 years of living in the San Fernando Valley, this was the sketchiest and scariest place that I ever lived. Now, I know it looks like a pretty nice apartment building, and it actually was. The apartment building itself was nice. The inside of our apartment was really nice, but the surrounding areas, not so much. And you know what? I'm just talking about when I personally lived here. For anybody that lives here now, no offense, I don't know what the area is like anymore, but back then, not so good. Now, I only lived here for about a year, but I can honestly say that I saw more sketchy stuff in that 1 year than I saw in my entire 25 years in the San Fernando Valley. So I wanted to share one of my favorite memories about my dad with you real quick. Now this isn't something that I would normally do in one of my Valley videos, but on November 5th, it's gonna be 17 years since my dad passed away. And I can't believe it. It seems like it's been just a few years. Although this story is post-90s, it's one of my favorite memories of my dad, and I wanted to share it with all of you as just kind of a little tribute to him. So in 2001, I found out that Prince was going to be playing right here on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Something that he did from time to time, but this was the first time that I knew about it in advance, and I decided I had to be here. So we were completely determined to get in for the taping, so my friend and I decided to come down here the night before and sleep on the sidewalk. So the night before I went to leave the house, I told my dad, all right, I'll see you in the morning. I'm heading down to sleep on the sidewalk in front of NBC Studios to get tickets to see Prince. My dad didn't really know what to say. It was obvious he wasn't too comfortable with it, but I was over 18. There wasn't a lot he could do. So we arrived here at NBC Studios. We lined up right in front of this wall, and we didn't sleep at all that night. For one, because it was freezing and there was no way we were gonna fall asleep, but also because it was way too loud. People were blaring Prince music, dancing and just partying and having a good time. So if I remember correctly, tickets got released at 8 a.m. and around 7 a.m. we were sitting on the ground leaning up against this wall, just completely freezing, waiting for that last hour to go by. I kept turning and looking down the street right here, and my friend eventually noticed and asked me what I was looking at, and I told him nothing, but what I was actually looking at was I was waiting for my dad to come around the corner. Although I hadn't exactly told him where I was gonna be, I kind of just vaguely told him I'd be sleeping on the sidewalk at NBC Studios. I knew he would figure it out somehow, and he would have to come down here and take a peek and make sure we were safe. Sure enough, I see my dad's white Chevy truck come pulling around the corner. He makes a U-turn, he pulls up right in front of where we're sitting. I walk up and open the door. He's got the heater blasting and 2 cups of hot chocolate that he just got from AM/PM, one for me and one for my friend. He tells me, come on, you guys gotta get inside and get warm. And I tell him, no, I know you're late for work. And he's like, no, you have to come in here and sit down and get warm. So we sat in his truck with him for probably 15 or 20 minutes, enjoying our hot chocolate and enjoying the heater. He asked us about our night. We told him stories about the people we had met. We pointed some of the people out that were standing in line. He really enjoyed hearing those stories. So after a while, we thanked him for the hot chocolate. He left for work. We got back in line. My friend was really confused. He was really thankful. He thanked my dad, but he was really confused because I think that's something that probably his dad wouldn't have done. And don't get me wrong, his dad is an awesome guy. But I think a lot of dads, if you told them you were doing something stupid like sleeping on the sidewalk to get Prince tickets, they might just call you an idiot and then go to sleep. But my dad was different and he was special, and I really miss him. Thanks for letting me share that story with you.